Hello. Welcome to the channel. Today is August 18th. This episode is related to EHang. In this episode, we are going to share our digest and comments on EHang Q2 2022 earnings report and the associated conference call. Today, August 18th, EHang has just released its Q2 2022 earnings report and conducted the corresponding earnings call. We will summarize and comment separately for the earnings report and earnings call. First, financial summary or highlights for Q2 2022. Financial highlights for Q2 2022. Earnings report. Total revenues up 152.5% quarter-over-quarter. Total revenues were 14.6 million renminbi, representing an increase of 152.5% from 5.8 million renminbi in the first quarter of 2022. High gross margin 67.1%. Gross margin was 67.1%, maintaining a high level with a further increase of 4.6 percentage points from 62.5% in the first quarter of 2022. Net loss was 73.9 million renminbi, compared with 68.8 million renminbi in the first quarter of 2022. Cash equivalents, restricted cash and short-term investments balances were 240.7 million renminbi as of June 30, 2022. With this cash burn rate, the cash balances may cover about 3 quarters without relying on consuming the credit line available from Agricultural Bank of China. At this stage, EHang needs to play the delicate balance between the cash burn rate and the timing of the type certificate granting to avoid the need to consume the credit line. The certificate granting is expected to boost the sales and revenues, and substantially reduce the cash burn. Next, about the certification. In the earnings report, EHang does not provide new guidance on the type certificate granting time. We may observe from the certification-related updates. Type certification updates for Q2 2022. Mentioned in earnings report. TC process has progressed into new phases following CAAC issuing EH216S special conditions. The EH216S type certification, TC, process has progressed into new phases following that CAAC issued EHang with the first special conditions for TC of a human-carrying unmanned aircraft system specially for EH216S in February 2022. The CAAC TC expert team and EHang have reached a consensus on the project-specific certification plan, the certification basis, and the certification plan, respectively. 13 means of compliance applicable to EH216. On top of references to CCAR 23 and many other internationally recognized regulations and standards, and conventional aircraft configuration management and airworthiness experience, EHang certification team has made further innovative explorations on new topics related to unmanned aircraft system, such as unmanned system, data link and ground control system, and worked out 13 means of compliance applicable to EH216. EHang is continuing carrying out internal tests and planning the activities for the demonstration of compliance. With respect to the certification, EHang CEO Hu Huazhi has the following remarks. More importantly, we are grateful for both the CAAC and our certification team's efforts, professionalism, innovation spirit, and great support that made our today's certification progress and breakthrough possible, bringing us closer to the goal of the EH216S type certification and a new era of urban air mobility. Next, about the key info in Q2 2022 earnings call. Highlights of EHang CEO remarks. Q2 2022 earnings call. TC process into new phases with comprehensive setup airworthiness concept. The CEO stated, "The most important thing for us at present is the EHang 216S airworthiness certification. And the process has progressed into new phases since this year. It is based on our full understanding of the comprehensive setup airworthiness concept that had been summarized by the Western countries with their experience in recent century. This setup concept has been embedded in the entire process of making our aircraft from design to mass production, which has an essential and a profound influence on the safe production and operation of aviation products. Here, I would like to express my sincere admiration and appreciation to the pioneering predecessors who contributed to the invaluable experience with tremendous efforts." With regards to new type of airworthiness standards, the CEO stated, "However, before this CAAC issue the special conditions, there hadn't been any available airworthiness certification standards applicable to this new type of aircraft like EHang 216. In the early days, our AAVs conformed to our own safety standards, based on which we explored to start productization and production. As there was no precedent, we had to closely work with the CAAC to further develop this new type of airworthiness standards together according to the relevant airworthiness concepts and the principles in the past several months. With regards to aircraft systems, meeting aviation industry requirements and compatible with own management system, the CEO stated, "We had established the aircraft design and production management systems, which not only meet the requirements of the aviation industry but also are compatible with our own management system. With that, every member of our team can work in line with airworthiness concept and conforming to the scientific management and the design method so as to enable every process in a controlled and a regulated manner from design to production of EHang 216. Reaching consensus with CAAC in Q2 on plans." In this regard, we finally reached a consensus with the CAAC expert team in Q2 on our project-specific certification plan and certification basis, as well as the certification plan, respectively. Exploration on new topics for AAV systems besides CCAR-23, ASTM, SAE, RTCA etc. In respect of the airworthiness process for this unique unmanned aircraft system, we have not only referred the CCAR-23 airworthiness regulation and internationally recognized the standards, such as the ASTM, SAE, RTCA, etc., and learned from the configuration management and airworthiness experience of a conventional aircraft to OEMs, but also made innovation exploration on new topics in unmanned aircraft systems, including the unmanned system, data link, and the ground control system. We worked out 13 means of compliance applicable to EHang 216. Based on our previous experience, we are continuing carrying out internal tasks according to the airworthiness standards and planning activities for the demonstration of the compliance. With regards to CAAC and Guangdong Gov strongly pushing forward TC process as their key tasks in 2022. The CEO stated, "Based on the CAAC and the Guangdong Provincial Government Strategic Cooperation Framework Agreement for Civil Aviation Development in Guangdong, they recently emphasized our speeding up developing the aviation manufacturing industry and new business forms of general aviation. Both the CAAC and the Guangdong government have clearly put pushing forward relevant UAM pilot project and are strongly pushing forward the EHang 216 SAAV type certification process as their key tasks in 2022. It encouraged us and further enhanced our confidence to obtain the type certificate. Moreover, in June, this CAAC newly established Aircraft Airworthiness Branch Center in Guangzhou, where our headquarters is located, to be in charge of the airworthiness certification work for small aircraft nationally. With regards to VT30, the CEO stated, "Currently, the VT30, one of the products in our VTOL aircraft series, is at the stage of the product design, airworthiness preparation, and a component verification. We believe that these favorable conditions and a policy support in Guangdong can lay a solid foundation for VT30 design, test flight, and airworthiness certification. Here, it is good to know VT30 is making progress. After obtaining the type certificate for EH216, EHang can focus on and speed up the VT30 development and its certification preparation. VT30 shares similar design concepts with EH216 and may be helped with experiences gained from EH216. As such, VT30 may have the possibility of reaching the certification stage quicker than commonly expected." Next, EHang Chief Operating Officer remarks. Highlights of EHang COO Xin Fang remarks. Q2 2022 earnings call. Air tourism, improved policy and environment. EHang COO stated, "As the COVID situation in China have gradually stabilized since Q2 of this year, the tourism market has been recovering steadily. In June this year, the CAAC issued the 14th Five-Year Special Plan for General Aviation Development to promote the development of low-altitude flight tourism by supporting related authorities to expand aerial sightseeing in more scenic spots and to establish a low-altitude flight tourism network, connecting scenic spots, resorts, theme parks, and other tourist destinations. With regards to partnership with Taiyang Xinjiang, Jishou City Gov, with 5 AAVs delivered and 25 more in future." The COO stated. "And in the national policy of supporting integrated the development of aviation and tourism, we formed a strategic partnership with Taiyang Xinjiang Cultural Tourism Investment Company, an affiliated enterprise of the Jishou City government in China's Hunan province, with the plan to develop a scenic flight project at Eihang Wonder Tourist Area, a national 5A-level scenic spot in Jishou. In Q2, we delivered 5 units of EHang 216 AAVs for the customer's initial purchase order and initiated trial flight operations in Eihang. The customer plans to produce additional 25 units of EHang 216 in the future. This project creates a replicable public and private business cooperation model for low-altitude flight tourism, which is helpful for expanding our ongoing business projects in other regions. Tourism market potential: 305A-level scenic spots and over 4,000 4A-level scenic spots. According to statistics, China has more than 305A-level scenic spots and over 4,000 4A-level scenic spots, indicating tremendous market potential for expanding low-altitude flight tourism. Against this backdrop, we are making excellent progress in our 100 Air Mobility Route initiative. More than 5,700 operational trial flights conducted in practical aerial sightseeing in China. So far, more than 5,700 operational trial flights of EHang 216 has been conducted in practical aerial sightseeing scenario at 11 operation spots in China. After obtaining the airworthiness certificate, EHang 216 is expected to provide our tourism customers and end users with a unique, safe, technologically advanced, cost-effective, and a pleasant low-altitude flight tourism solution and experience. With regards to international business expansion, in Southeast Asia, where the UN market is also in high demand, it has rich use cases. We are actively expanding our presence through the empowerment of local partners. In Q2, we received a pre-order for 100 units of EHang 216 AAVs from an Indonesian aviation company, Prestige Aviation, which is the largest pre-order we have received in Asia so far. We've also reached a strategic cooperation with CP Group, one of the largest conglomerates in Thailand, with an intent to establish a joint venture. We're introducing EHang AAVs to Thailand. The two parties also intend to carry out comprehensive cross-sectoral cooperation in aerial tourism, aerial logistics and transportation, urban mobility and smart city management in the future. With regards to signs of business recovery in H2 2022, the COO stated, "We expect the signs of a business recovery in the second half of this year as we are actively adapting to the macro environment, continuing moving forward on EHang 216 certification, securing more product orders and expanding our original aerial media business in the Europe market. We remain confident in our growth potentials and long-term outlook, in our core values, and unique advantages." Next, about questions and answers session. Questions from Tim Seow, Morgan Stanley, analyst. Hi, management team. Thanks for taking my questions. I actually have two quick questions. The first one is, we saw EHang having been making some good progress in terms of their customer acquisitions, especially in Asia, over the past few quarters. Just wondering how many pre-orders we've got so far and when do we plan to start the delivery. And in addition, could I also get some updates regarding our collaborations with the government? And what kind of size of the contribution should we expect, and when do we think it's going to kick in? And my second question is about the funding, the investments. Because we noticed that with half of the partnership with the Agriculture Bank of China, and that entitles to around billions, the indicative credit facilities. Just wondering how we are going to use that and how we're going to accelerate the investment in the upcoming months. And what kind of a cash rate do you have, does it look like now? So, could you share a little bit more information about our investment plan in the upcoming quarters? Thank you. Answer from Fang, Chief Operating Officer. Hi, Tim. This is Fang. Let me take your first question about orders. Since the beginning of this year, we have received a total of 210 units of pre-orders for passenger-grade AAVs in the Asian market. Foreign language, the more than 200 units of pre-orders in Asia are expected to be delivered in about 3 years, subject to customer needs and are obtaining the type certificate in China or other relevant certification in a local market. Foreign language, in addition to the pre-orders, we also have received some customer orders both in hand or in discussions which are able to be quickly delivered in a short time based on the customer's demands. For example, in Q2, we received the orders from the customer in Jishou and also completed the deliveries for the first batch of 5 units which have already been put into our operations. Foreign language, at present, we are in talks with some local governments regarding potential cooperation and plans to set up operational centers in different regions in order to actively prepare for the commercial operations. Once we obtain the type certificate, we have already signed a strategic cooperation agreement with certain governments. Upon this agreement, there will be some purchase orders which stands to be completed successively within this year and expected to make a notable contribution to our full-year results. Richard Liu, Chief Financial Officer. Hi, Tim. This is Richard. I will take your second question. Basically, this partnership is the first time that Agriculture Bank of China, as one of the largest commercial bank, to partner with and grant such indicated credit facilities to us as an innovative AAV technology company. This represents the traditional financial institutions have started to tap into this type of new industry. So, it is a good sign not only for EHang but also, I believe, for the industry. Basically, the 1 billion renminbi indicated credit facilities cover comprehensive banking products and services of Agriculture Bank of China to support our operations and business development over the following years, including regular credit loans, financial leasing, supply chain financing, etc. So, as a starter, they have extended to us a 30 million renminbi credit loan. Further, we have been discussing the financing, our financial leasing option to facilitate our business growth after the TC is obtained. Thus, in the near term, money will be used more towards supporting operations and the sales growth. In respect of investment, in terms of capex investment, and so as we have an existing production facility, we will see how the sales would grow to plan for any future capex needs. Regarding the cash burn, as you know, EHang has been running a lean operation in China. And this is somewhat EHang's unique style if compared to others. You probably can get a feeling from our cash flow statements. If you ask for current level to give you a rough idea, the current average monthly cash burn rate of our operations is around 17 million renminbi or roughly $2.5 million. If annualizing it, you would get around 200 million renminbi or roughly $30 million. As it is expected that sales would increase after the TC is obtained, the operational cash flow or the cash burn situation is expected to be further improved following that. Hope this answer your question. Next, questions from Delu Tianfeng Securities Analyst. Thank you. Thank you for taking my questions. And I have two questions as well. The first one is, could the management team elaborate a little bit more on the business model for the AAV for the Tourist Attraction Corporation? Like, for example, will the tourist attraction be leasing or buying the AAV from EHang? Or who will be operating the AAV and such? And for second question, now that we've seen that there are many competitors now in the making of AAV, what would the management team feel if the most important innovation to stay as AAV industry leader, for example, like battery or noise cancellation technology or propeller technology, or like having a command and control center, what will be the most crucial? How is EHang doing in that particular area? Thank you so much. Answer from Xian Fang, Chief Operating Officer. Hi, Lu De. This is Fang Xian. I will take your questions. The demand and the business model for aerial sightseeing have existed for a long time. The traditional ways, including the cable cars and helicopters, which can not only provide the tourists with a fresh aerial sightseeing experience but also serve as a point-to-point transportation vehicles in scenic spots, which are favored by both the tourists and the scenic spot operators. Foreign language, by the non-traditional ways has certain limitations, such as the high cost and the expenses for infrastructures, the aircraft acquisition and the maintenance and professional pilots. Therefore, the scenic spot operators cannot have a good return on investment. Foreign language, the key innovation of our AAVs is that they are designed for the multiple use cases with features of a high safety, efficiency, and the low-cost operations reflected in our aircraft structure and a full redundancy safety design and a fleet management. In terms of the aero tourism, the EHang 216 can realize stable flights in low altitude based on our modulatory structure. And it can be centrally monitored and managed. And what's more, it's the high cost of hiring professional pilots. The scenic spots, as our customers, can purchase or lease our AAVs. We're only providing infrastructures for qualified operators who can take charge of flight monitoring in our operational spots. EHang provides both the AAV sales and the UAM operational services to our customers. Taking our partnership with Jisho customer as an example, in Q2, our customer not only placed the purchase order for the EHang 216 but also plans to work with us to develop a scenic flight project at Aizhai Wonder. It's a national 5A level scenic spot in Hunan through both parties, complementary resources, and joint operations. Regarding your second question, as an industry leader, our autonomous technology is our leading competence in the AAV industry, while other competitors are still at this stage of managing and controlling it. In terms of our autonomous technologies, we have invested all our efforts from day one, including flight control algorithms, the flight list systems, the battery system, and also the command and control systems, altogether integrated unmanned aircraft system. With continuous iteration and evolution of these technologies, we are able to stay ahead in industry. That's the answer to your questions. Thank you. Next, questions from unknown speaker. I have 2 questions. First, on the technology, any differences in the entry barrier across the logistic, firefighting and also the passenger AAV? And can these different products share the same production lines? And what's the roughly units level to break even? My second question is on safety. Could we take over the flight if any emergency happens? And if hackers paralyze the system, what can we do to let the AAV safely land? Thank you. Answer from Richard Liu, Chief Financial Officer. Hi. This is Richard. Thanks for your question. Let me try to answer the questions. So, basically, our 216L, the logistic model, 216F, the firefighting model, are essentially within the, we call it, the 216 series of products. Basically, our approach has been to first focus on developing a fundamental model for passenger carrying use, which is the corresponding model is 216S. It requires large pay route and the highest safety level, and then further develop 216L and 216F on top of the fundamental model based on different specific needs. The core modules, such as flight control, propulsion, etc., are the same. Actually, the relevant functional parts are tailor-made to suit for different needs. With that, I guess you probably can tell now, the entry aerial vehicle was due beyond the core technology parts, which are shared and require a large amount of time and manpower to be developed. As to the production line, it can also be shared. In respect of break-even, we can look at them as a whole. To give you a rough idea, it is estimated that a new sales of roughly, to give you a rough range, at around 250 to 300 units of 216 series of products to carry the company to break even on an adjusted basis, given the current level of expenses and the crisis. And regarding your second question, so, basically, our AAVs fly by itself along the predetermined flight routes in normal situation. In case of emergency, the AAV usually can deal with the situation by itself. Having said that, if necessary, the ground operational staff who are monitoring the flight can take over the control through the ground command and control system. In respect of your hacking question, the connection between the AAV and the command and control system is through wireless private network and separated from the public network. And there are high-level substitute of protection measures. So, in case on the ground command and control system will be hacked, the AAV can still fly by itself to complete the predetermined flight or find the nearest safe area to land. I hope I answer your question. Thank you. Above is the digest and relevant content for the earnings report and call. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.